Welcome to the March 28th Eclipse OpenJ9 community call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees so we have an idea of who's been attending, and particularly if you're a regular attender. We've got our usual agenda in front of us. If there's something you want to add, please chime in now. Let us know or add it into the any other business section. No lightning talk scheduled this week, but if you have one that you do want to schedule, reach out to me and we'll get that added in. And the user raised issues. So let's take a look at what's come in since the last week. Looks like there's some discussion around the JIT server. Some response there. There's an issue with finding natives. Library. Also had some discussion. Assertion failed with the hierarchical scan ordering. An XLP4K issue. So we've had a couple more user-raised issues come in the last little bit, but it looks like there's some conversation happening on them. Is there any of these that need to be looked into further today? Or anything people want to deep dive on today? Let's jump back to the agenda. That brings us to the roadmap section. We have the 038 release coming up. Last time we said there were 2 regressions and we weren't ready for an M2 yet. Does anyone have an update on that? Adam, do you know if the M2 builds have started?
What? Sure why Pete's not on the call.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Adam.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't started. I think we were waiting to have a discussion on this call. I'm surprised Pete's not here. There he is.
Pete, just in time for the release section. We were just talking about the 038 release and whether we should start the M2 build or wondering whether it had happened already.
No M2 build yet, so we're waiting for 2 double deliveries of cryo changes, and we're waiting for an extensions change. Which one? Support for EC key generation.
Okay.
So it was thought the support for EC key generation was almost ready, but I've just been chatting with Keith and I'm not sure that's really true. So we'll have to see where it's at and if we really do want to hold up M2 on it. Keep working on that after the meeting.
With where we're at and the remaining items in this list, are the rest of these likely to resolve before we actually want to release?
Let me find the list. For some reason, I can't see your screen sharing. I'm assuming you're sharing.
I'm sharing. Can anyone else see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Usually I can. It's something to do with my laptop that I'm using right now. Maybe I just haven't hit the right button or something. So some of the things are just double checks, like ensuring JDK8 free type is up to date. We need to make sure that OpenJDK doesn't put in a last minute change, because if they do, we have to backport it to JDK8. Enabling creation of DTFJ plugins, I think that's like a minor change that could go in any time. So if it could go in any time up to the GA, if I have time to work on it or Keith has time to work on it, maybe we could get that done. Release notes, that's just a reminder to update the release notes. There's a JIT crash, which I assume will move out. DDR stack slots is broken. I was hoping that maybe somebody would do some work on it, and it could go in, but it doesn't matter if it does. Liberty server hang randomly. I think there is still some hope that we'd make some progress, but probably move out. The CRIU non-portable restore, I'm not sure if anybody's looking at that one. or how important it might be. Toby, maybe you know?
Yeah, I ran a grinder. Haven't looked through the results yet.
We might still look at that. Java restricted security mode, the changes have gone in for 11 and 17. They haven't gone in for 8, but we're not going to hold things up on that. Backporting the GB18.030 seems like something OpenJDK is working on, but we might have wanted to do earlier, but nobody's doing anything as far as I can tell, so we're not going to hold anything on that. It'll come from OpenJDK eventually. The PKS CS12 key store, we had wanted that to go in, but it seems we've found what looks like a blocking problem. Until I have more information, that's not going to hold up M2. We're hoping to get the support for the EC key generation in before M2. The PR just has a merge conflict and it can go in. And then the support for the handle SIG user 2, that's an option that somebody needs, I believe. We're just waiting for somebody to confirm that it's working as expected. I don't think adding the option changes any behavior by default, so I was intending to allow that change to go in right up until GA once we're ready to put it in.
So the change is only if it's enabled?
It's enabled by default, and we'd add changes to parse the option, which wouldn't change anything. The only change would be if somebody used the option to disable it. So, A, we're going to wait for somebody to confirm it's working for them, and B, it doesn't change any default behavior, so the risk is very low of putting it in.
All right, so it sounds like we're in a reasonable place for most of these, getting our release out the door.
Yeah, and there's one other PR that we need to double over that's not in the list that hopefully will go in today. So 2 PRs to go in, and then getting clarification on this EC key generation, and then we can start M2. So hopefully very soon.
Getting on 2 cryo PRs and the EC key gen. For Java 19 then, take a look at our release plan. We're down to 3 items in here.
Yeah, so the first one, that fix went in yesterday and looking good. I mean, there's no problems exposed in nightly testing. The PR has been open to double deliver that, so hopefully the delivery into the 037 stream will happen soon. And then the other 2, I was wondering if they really need to block a release, if we could go ahead and release without them.
All right, so let's take a look at the Skynet hang timeout. What is the...
Dan, so I'm just gonna jump in on this one. For this one, the PR is already open and under review. Yesterday, Lin's change went in with the GC, causing there was some merge conflicts. So I'm just working on resolving that, and should have the PR updated today to address all of the merge conflicts and review comments I've been receiving so far.
So the PR should be ready. Let's see the linked PR to this.
It's at the bottom. I can also post it in the chat.
The Skynet failures on large machines. That looks like it's another.
It's a refactor virtual thread synchronization design. It's linked at the bottom. I'll add it in the
Linked to this one.
Can't see what you're doing, but this Skynet failures on virtual machines, the PR has already been merged to the headstream, and that's the one that has a PR open for 037. It just needs to be reviewed and merged. So
yeah, the second one is the Skynet.java hang timeout.
Yeah, that's the one Jack's talking about.
That's the one Jack's talking about, but I don't see a PR linked from that.
I've just linked it.
So this is ready to go as soon as the reviews.
Yes. So there were just a merge conflicts with Lynn's PR that I'm addressing to fix.
And we've run lots of testing, and we're pretty sure this is not going to cause more problems.
I've run a personal build with Sanity Extended on both functional and OpenJDK, and both are passing. Special.system and Sanity Extended system also passed, I think.
Yeah, I don't think those would test Loom very much.
So it sounds like this is getting closer, but still needs some more testing.
I'm not sure, but I don't think there's any other tests that we run in our release builds. So I'm not sure which exactly I'm missing in terms of testing.
No, it sounded good to me. Jack's run what we run. So if those look good and we're ready to merge this, I guess we should get into the headstream and look at some nightly build results.
Yeah, so the conflict resolution and PR review comments will be addressed today and ready to make sure that if any reviewer have any other comments. I think there were also some changes pending a look from Daryl from the JIT side because there were updates to the JIT code.
Sorry,
Daryl,
which issue was that? No, sorry, I'm not. I must have missed that then. Which issue?
It's the refactor on virtualized synchronization. There were some changes to how the JIT code cache reclaim was being done.
Okay, I'll have to look at those then. 16855. Okay.
Thanks, Daryl.
And we have one other item here, the breakpoint and yield test, which seg faults.
Yeah, so this one we're still not exactly sure 100% what it is, but looks like it's related to how the code cache is handled.
My question is, does this need to be a release blocker?
Do we understand what the issue is?
It seems to be that either GC or VM missed the code cache when we're doing the scanning. Could be either one. We're not exactly sure at this moment.
Is this something that is only going to happen in breakpoint tests or something that may happen in other places as well?
We haven't seen this occurring in any other stress test. This is the only test case where we can reproduce this issue.
And it only happens on one platform or multiple platforms?
We've only seen it on macOS so far. I tried this on x86 and about 50 runs, it didn't reproduce the issue.
What is it about this test that's different? Is it believed to be the OSR that's different? Is it the running in debug mode?
I suspect it's the breakpoint that we were adding in the specific place that might be causing some problems.
So adding a breakpoint forces a method to be interpreted. So is it the fact that we're adding a breakpoint on something that's being executed, so we have to OSR out of it? Is it understand the situation?
It is. They're putting a breakpoint on the yield function during continuation. So I'm suspecting that there might be adding an excess amount of OSR during the yield process when the continuation is about to be unmounted.
Yeah, it sounds like we have timing holes then. Breakpoints will definitely show up, or stress. Are we likely to see this in other stressed? And I guess the answer that you have is that we haven't seen it yet.
No, we've been testing with quite a few stress tests, and none of them show up except this one.
If that's the only thing that's holding us off from being able to ship, then that's probably something we could call a known issue if that allows us to get a 19 build out, or it's no longer relevant. Is that where you were going, Pete?
Yeah, it seems a shame to not get a release out just because of that one intermittent thing on one platform.
Why don't we leave it in the list for now, and if we can get it resolved or can get a better understanding of what's going on in the time that it takes to get the other two items through, then I think we're probably okay to ship with it. A clearer understanding of what the timing hole is certainly help.
But
With Java,
the answer about the Skynet hang is that we definitely want to wait for the redesign to go in.
I think if we have the redesign there and that's the solution we want, then it makes sense to wait for it.
Or at least see how testing goes on the headstream once we merge it.
Yes.
Sounds good.
So that brings us then to Java 20. Is it worth having a conversation on where we're at with 20, or is there's 52 open items in that plan still, so probably not worth having much of a conversation on this yet.
I think what's worth doing is having people go through the items for their component and see what's a release blocker and what isn't, and move things out again. I guess maybe we need to create more milestones to hold things that we move out. But if we want to get 20 out the door as soon as possible, we need to whittle the list down to the things we actually have to do. I think a lot of things were pushed forward from 19, and maybe they don't have to be done to get a 20 release out.
Yeah, we do see, I think I saw the JEP get created today for Loom to be enabled in JDK 21, so that certainly puts a limit on how far we can push things.
Right.
For 20, though, we only have to we have to do testing on virtual threads and FFI. Those are the only two things. Those are the only two deltas between 19 and 20.
I'd like to figure out where we're at for FFI. I saw some changes went in, but I'm not sure where that puts us. Have we got all the FFI changes in and we've re-enabled the FFI tests at this point, or we're still waiting for more changes? That's a question for you, Cheng.
We think so far we already merged all changes for
All the FFI tests are enabled again?
Yes, but not for jet track test, because jet track test is not a story, because so far we got new changes in Java 21. We need, once this change, this open station changes merged, we have to update the code change accordingly. Make sure there's no conflict, and go back to investigate it if there's issues in JTrack test failure.
What about JTREC for JDK 20, though?
We observe couple JTrack test failures, not related to the key functionality in terms of download upcode. but some corner case out there, which we need to
Okay.
address. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So those would be that would be one of the things blocking us from JDK20 then, and whatever else we find after doing the JDK20 virtual thread tests.
Right.
Could you restate that, Toby? Because I couldn't make it out.
Sorry, am I more audible now?
No,
No.
I couldn't make out what Cheng was saying, but you seem to understand. Could you say it so I could understand?
Okay. So, yeah. So basically, there are a few test failures, JTREG test failures in JDK20 that we have to address. Those would be blockers. So we have to fix the failing FFI JTREG 20 tests, and then we have to fix whatever test failures we find in virtual thread tests for JDK20. And once that is complete, then I think we are ready for a JDK20 release.
Okay. So we've already done some testing and have opened some issues, so they should already be in the milestone plan. We just need to whittle down to those ones that need to be resolved. I suppose we should do another full test pass after the Skynet hang timeout redesign work goes in.
Yeah, and I suspect a lot of the issues in the JDK20 milestone will be deferred because a lot of those were deferred from 19. So I think the list we're probably going to track is smaller.
I think we should be careful about that, though, because we have a cutoff at 21 where those things need to be functional, right? So you can only kick that can so far down the road.
But do we want to block
Toby,
a 20 release on those things, or should we get a 20 release out the door and then we can keep working on those things and they'll go into 20 if there's still time, or if not, they'll go into 21?
So I think if we made the decision that it was not a blocker for 19, I don't think it's a blocker for 20. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So go ahead.
I think, Toby, we made that decision because 19 was so delayed. I think we probably want to remake those decisions because we're looking at a different time scale, and we now know when these things have to be completely functional, which is 21, and we know when that date is. So with 19, we were able to push it down the line because we were so delayed. But now we definitely know that 21 is going to have Loom for real, so we need to really step up the fixing on those things.
Yeah, so I guess it's the same question then. Do we want to get a JDK20 out of the door? Because we're already delayed on JDK20, right? Or do we want to say, let's just focus on fixing everything for 21? Maybe it doesn't make a difference because we still have to fix the issues, but I think it's a similar kind of position we're in.
We are, but I think trying to push, if the default answer is we pushed it before, we can push it again, that only cuts it up until 21, in which case we're at the point where it has to be fixed.
Maybe we should discuss what we should do to ship 20. So we've missed the GA of OpenJDK. We're going to miss the 20.0.1 timeline. But would we consider releasing a 20.0.1 later, like say in May or June? Or are we just going to wait for 20.02 in July and only release 20 then? Because when we're talking about pushing something forward, if we could get a 20 GA out or a 20.01 out in May or June and then continue working on those issues for a 20.02 release in July.
that's reasonable, as long as we're not shipping a 20.1 after 20.2 is available.
No, we wouldn't do that. It's more a question of, do we get something out as soon as possible, or do we just say our next release is going to be July?
I wonder if the fact that there are some adopters of JDK 19 that may be exercising aspects of Loom and things like that, who may be opening some issues, and for us to give time to fix those problems, maybe a July release makes more sense. But I'm not sure.
Maybe the testers would be happier to be testing on 20 if we got a 20 release out earlier, and we could have some time to fix those issues for the 2002 release in July.
Yeah, maybe. Another way of looking at it.
I think it's probably we need to go through the issues in the plan and see how critical each of those issues are and where they, do they still occur given the latest set of fixes that have gone in. I think there needs to be a look at what's in that 20 plan and the status of them before we make a decision on which plan we want to attack, which plan we want to use to approach a 20 release.
To help with that, I'll create another milestone for a 2002 where we can put things, at least temporarily, so we can see what the minimum set is for a 2001 release. If it turns out we're not going to have a 2001 release, we can just put them all back together.
Sounds good. I have a hard cutoff at 11. So apologies, but I do need to push us forward because we have about a minute left. Is there anything critical we need to touch on for a 20 release or for any of the other items on this list? Any critical things for the infrastructure?
Nope.
Don't see Marius, so skip over Jet Server and Microjet. Anything critical for CRIU, Toby?
No, nothing mentioned this week.
Beryl, anything critical for the Apple Silicon work?
Nope.
Right, then why don't we call this here? Next meeting will be April 4th. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.